live stream. It's looking pretty good for Donald Trump. It looked like he might take Georgia too. Let's see what they're talking about. Once again, I'm watching CNN because CNN actually showing numbers, and Fox News is unfortunately just doing a whole lot of talking. And I don't think y'all want to see a whole lot of talk. Y'all want to see numbers, right?
She's in good shape. So we watch that as it plays out. We're only at
And just to
20%.
show you that I'm not lying, I did this on my last stream.
Tonight for them in
I'm doing a
Pennsylvania.
whole lot of talking and not really showing the numbers that I need to see.
200,000 of the 700 that
Ends the night blue. My bet would be on Vice President Harris winning Pennsylvania. Why? Let's look at it. Let's show you where it is. Here's Philadelphia. Here's the close-in suburbs around it. And then as you drive out, what used to be farm country, now you see the homes lined up, right? People moving further out because that's the only place they can afford a home. That's places like Berks County, Pennsylvania. Half the vote count, a little bit shy of that right now, 51 to 48, right? Let's go back in time. That was a 53% county for Donald Trump in 2020 when he lost Pennsylvania, and it was a 53% county in 2016 when he won Pennsylvania. So if you're the Vice President of the United States, you're keeping an eye on this one. If you can keep this blue, your chances to win the Commonwealth are improved dramatically. So spent a lot of time there over the last year. It is interesting. Found a lot of Nikki Haley voters there, a lot of Reagan Republicans who don't like Donald Trump, who were kind of tormented about voting for Trump or voting for Harris. So we'll keep an eye on that one there. Then you move out here. This is the number 2 in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Allegheny County is Pittsburgh and the suburbs around it. The labor vote, the blue-collar vote, a smaller African-American population, but the urban vote Democrats need. So she's at 68%. When you look at that there, you come back in time, he was at 59%. So again, we're early. Let me come back to 2024. They come out, it's 40%. So it's early. These tend to be early votes, which tend to favor Democrats more. So we want to wait and get more to see if that's contextual. At the moment, she's outpacing the President of the United States in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania in some key places. We will see if that holds up. The flip side, pick one. Cuyahoga County, along the border, northern border of Pennsylvania. Donald Trump getting 71% there. Half the vote is in. Again, this is Donald Trump's secret, just runs it up in small rural counties across America. 75%. So keep an eye on that. It's early. We're still counting votes right there. But is the Trump base turning out in the same math numbers in a place like Pennsylvania? He needs to run it up in places like this. There's Bradford. Again, it's only 5% reporting, 75%, 71%. Again, even in these small rural counties, the early vote, there's not a lot of Democratic votes there, but a lot of it comes out in the early votes if you're following along when they count it. So let's be careful to not make any projections, any tough lasting cement analysis, I guess I'll call it, but we'll keep an eye on that as we go through the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Virginia, every time I come out, I wait to see if Virginia's going to flip back. We're still at 59%. The lead has narrowed somewhat. This will be a shocker. Joe Biden
Virginia good.
By 10 points. By 10 points. Even if it's closer, even if the vice president comes back, let's take a peek. Yeah, the outstanding votes are still largely in Democratic. There's some Republican votes out there. You see the red dots, but the big circles are in Democratic areas. So the math is there for the vice president to recover. But even a close race in Virginia might tell you.
I'm telling you, I don't think y'all gonna get that black vote how you think you are. That's what they waiting on, that black vote. You're not getting that black vote. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I'm not saying every black person did what I did and voted for Trump, but a lot of black people just didn't vote at all. Mark my words now. They waiting on that black vote. It's not coming how they think it is. How they think it is.
Just take a look and you say, what's missing, right? Where are they still counting votes?
North Carolina.
Mecklenburg County, Charlotte and the suburbs around it. African-American voters, upscale
See,
suburbs around it.
I just said that too, didn't I? They're not going to get that black vote how they think they're going to get it. Mark my words.
Again, and so you see that happening right there. And let's see, we go back here and come back up to Virginia, and we see 49.4 and 48% there. Again, pretty remarkable. 17,000 votes. Again, we got a long way to go. 45% of the votes still to be counted. But Joe Biden won it by 10 points. So if you're in the vice president's camp, you're a little nervous about that.
Let's bring in David Chalian to get some insights now on the outstanding vote in Virginia, which is, as of now, a little tighter than I think the Harris campaign would like.
Yeah, Jake, we're trying to determine how much of this vote we're looking at now is pre-election vote. Our estimate right now is that we are looking at in Virginia, 39% of the vote that's in is pre-election vote. That, we think, at the end of the day, is going to go up to 52%. So there's still quite a bit of pre-election vote to come in here. And Kamala Harris is winning the pre-election vote by about 17 points. So as more of that early vote gets funneled into the count in Virginia, you can imagine there's real room here for Harris to grow, Jake.
All right, David, and we have some projections right now for you at home. CNN can project that Illinois will go to Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris, as expected, will win Illinois in its 19 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Rhode Island will go to
Come
Kamala
on,
Harris.
Chicago.
Kamala Harris will get the
Y'all black
4
people in
electoral
Chicago
votes
should have been the main ones
from Rhode
voting
Island.
Republican.
So
All them
now,
goddamn
on the
immigrants they
electoral
pushing
map
in
as of right
Chicago.
now, Donald Trump
Come
has
on, Illinois.
154
Dang.
electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 53 electoral votes. 270 are needed to win. Neither of them is within spitting distance of that. Let's take a look at the actual votes coming in from the battlegrounds that we have not projected. In battleground Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris in the lead, 57.5% of the vote. Donald Trump, 41.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 258,000 plus vote lead. That's with about a quarter, 23% of the estimated vote in Pennsylvania counted as of now. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris with 53.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with 44.3% of the vote. Harris with a 64,000 plus vote lead. That's with an estimated 12% of the vote counted in Michigan. Still very early in Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead. 50.7% of the vote. Harris with 48.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 75,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than half, 51% of the estimated vote counted in battleground North Carolina. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump still holding on to his lead, 52.9% of the vote. Harris has 46.4% of the vote.
Come on, Georgia.
Right now with a 249,000 plus vote lead. I'm sorry, now it's a 255,000 vote lead.
Y'all thought y'all gonna get that black vote. I'm telling you, y'all not getting it. I'm telling you, man.
In Virginia, Donald Trump in the lead as of now, 49.3% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 48.7% of the vote. Donald Trump is ahead by more than 15,000 votes. That's with more than half, 56% of the estimated vote, but still a lot of votes to come in the Commonwealth of Virginia. In New Hampshire, Harris with 53.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with 45.9% of the vote. Harris with an 18,000 plus vote lead. That's with under a third of the vote counted in New Hampshire. 30% of the estimated vote counted in New Hampshire. In Ohio, Donald Trump in the lead, 54.3% of the vote. Harris with 44.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 332,000 plus vote lead. That's with almost 60%, 58% of the estimated vote counted in the Buckeye state. Now let's go to John King at the Magic Wall. John.
So Jake, you lay at the results, and there's some surprises there, right? At least where we are right now. So we just want to go back and follow up where we were. David Chelling was talking about some of the outstanding vote. We know in Virginia is early vote, and that percentage is going down.
Trump
we know that the vice
looking
president's
pretty
doing quite
damn
well
good right
in
now.
that vote. So I just
Looks
want to
like he might get
what he means
Virginia,
by how this can change. Again, Donald Trump's
Georgia.
shrinking. It was 16,000 not that long ago. It's 12,395 now. Look at the Northern Virginia suburbs here. I just want to show you, these circles help us understand where are there live outstanding votes, meaning votes that we know are out there that have not been counted yet. Right? You see the big circles, the biggest circles around the Northern Virginia suburbs, also Richmond and the suburbs around that, and some big Republican circles down here, Virginia Beach area, and some here in the suburbs more to the south, the exurbs south of Richmond. But I want to focus up here, and just to show you why you can say early on, you say, whoa, what's happening here? But then things can change pretty quickly when large population centers report their votes. So let's take Fairfax County. And it's the largest of the suburban counties. It's the number one county population-wise in Virginia. The vice president's getting 66% of the vote. 63% of the vote. Turnout is robust, right? So we should be somewhere around 2020 when we end 2024. Maybe a little higher, maybe a little lower, but somewhere around it. 250,000 votes right now. If you go back in time, you see 419,000 votes. So if she's winning 60 plus percent, the president was winning 70% 4 years ago. You have Vice President Harris winning 66, a little below. Virginia looks like it's going to be a little bit more competitive this year. But you can see just right there in that one county, there's a lot of votes still out, and she's winning disproportionately in the math right now. That can change, but it generally tracks when you get above 60% of the vote. And so just in that one county right there, the math, when those votes come in, the math can change. So doesn't mean it will, but there's more than enough Democratic votes still outstanding, or votes outstanding in Democratic areas, is the better way to put it, for that to happen. So let's check in on the other battlegrounds as we go through. This one, again, go back in time. This was the closest Donald Trump victory in a battleground state. Of the battlegrounds he won, 74,000 votes, 483, 74,483. 4 years ago, he's 110 ahead right now, but we're only at 54% of the vote, right? So you see these gray areas, what are those? That's where you have no votes in yet. So we're still waiting some of these smaller counties This one, this is the 10th of the 100 counties population-wise, so it's not tiny. Gaston County along the border right there. But the big population centers are Charlotte. Let's just see how much we have. Only 10% of the vote in Mecklenburg County. So if you're looking at this number, you're saying, okay, Donald Trump's got a 4-point lead, 3.5, 4-point lead in North Carolina. But then you come here, it's the largest Democratic area, only 10% of the vote. And again, look where we are, 36,000 votes for the vice president right now. You go back 4 years, 378,000 votes. So we just need to slow down with where we go in here in North Carolina and count more votes, because there are more than enough votes out there. Again, if you come out statewide and just apply the entire graph to the whole thing, live outstanding votes, you see some Republican pockets here, but where are the biggest circles? Right, where are the biggest circles? Charlotte in the suburbs, Raleigh-Durham in the suburbs, Winston-Salem in the suburbs, Wilmington in the suburbs, Asheville in the suburbs. Doesn't mean the vice president's going to win North Carolina. By no means means the vice president's going to win North Carolina. It just means there are a lot more votes to be counted in areas that right now are blue, and some of them blue by a pretty lopsided margin. Now, just to be fair, see all these little tiny dots? There's a lot of little tiny red dots, right? Right? They're not going to match the vote count here and here, but there's a lot more of them, right? So when you come out, you just take a look. Again, I'm a broken record sometimes, but this is the wonder of Donald Trump. This is how he runs up the math. 72% there, only 25% reporting there, but 72% in Rutherford County, right down here along the border here. Let's just go back in time and take a peek. 72%. Donald Trump is consistent. He is the constant in this race. In most places you look, he's getting what he got in 2020. He's getting what he got in 2016. He's pretty constant, pretty consistent. But 24,000 votes there with 72% 4 years ago. And so then you come forward there, we're only at 25%. So again, if it comes in around the turnout of 4 years ago and it stays at that percentage, there's a chunk of votes there and in many of these other small rural counties still for Donald Trump, which is why we count late into the night and sometime into the morning. He gets small margins, but you add them all up, 20, 15, 20, 30 rural counties, match them up against the one urban county, that's how you get a battleground state. Let's pop down to Georgia. We come down over here. This one here, again, in a state decided by 11,000 votes 4 years ago, with 75% of the vote in, Donald Trump's ahead by 241,000. You start to think, oh, we're about 75% of the vote. Are we at the point of no return? Well, let's take a look. Number one, how many votes does it take to win Georgia? Donald Trump's leading right now with 2.1 million. Joe Biden won it in 2020 with 2.4 million and change, and we hear turnout is pretty good down there. So it could be somewhere around that, could be a little higher than that, number one. So you start there, and then number two, Jake, you just apply, what are we waiting for, right? And look at the size of the blue circles. Again, doesn't mean the vice president's going to come back and win Georgia. It just means, everybody take a breath, let's count votes. Because you see Atlanta and the suburbs around it, where most of those big circles are, which means, in a place like Fulton County, where, 78% reporting in Fulton County, that's actually interesting. We'll see what comes out. It's a big, because of the population center, it's a big chunk of votes, but she's running at 73% right there. Look at that. Look at that. 72.6. 72.6.
That's funny.
It's a mirror image right there. So I always look at the ones a little bit farther out. 80% now in Cobb County, it's 57.4. You go back here, it's 50. It's just the question is, can he improve? Is really the bigger question. I keep focusing on her. Can he improve in the suburbs? He's not there. Let's just come over here to Gwinnett. He's at 39% right now, and he was at 40%. There, he's close. He's close, but those little tiny margins can matter. But again, 16% of the vote there. So we got a ways to go. That's a healthy lead for Donald Trump. There's a lot of votes still to be counted in this blue circle right here.
So let's bring back the map that shows where the vote is still outstanding, if you can do that.
I can do that.
Because I want to bring in Pamela Brown to get us up to speed on some of the outstanding votes that remain in Georgia. Pamela, what do you think?
Let's jump over here, see what's going on over here.
1% there in Erie County, but in all likelihood, you're going to see the T start to form here in Pennsylvania, and the T is going to be all red. And we're going to see what happens on, both sides of the state. And they're going to be blue. The question is, how blue will they be? So we'll watch that here. You guys had mentioned Virginia. We'll just pop on down here because it seems like there's a pretty good race going on right now, right? Trump has just upped his margin here, right? So he's got about a 2-point lead statewide. Too soon to call, I should say, with more than half of the vote in. Here's where you need to look, all right? This is Washington, D.C., this is Fairfax County, #1 populated county in all of 133. There's 40% of the vote that has not yet been tabulated into this, okay?
Biden, sorry to interrupt.
Sorry, what's that?
Where was it for Biden? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll show you. I sure will. So a lot of that's 40% out saying is going to go for Harris, but we just don't know how much in the most populated county. Okay, so go back 4 years. This is 2020. This is Joe Biden at 70%. Okay, so Kamala Harris, she has time to make up for that, given the fact that that vote is still out. And I would say, just looking at Georgia a moment ago, Fulton County looks to be somewhat similar. And the reason is, I'm going to explain this to you, okay? Fulton County is the most populated county in the state of Georgia. You're getting a lot of Democratic votes from out there, all right? She's up by 46 points, all right? Pretty good margin, by 202,000 raw votes, okay? So 4 years ago with Joe Biden, he won the county with 242. His margin on a percentage basis was a bit higher, about 2 points, 242,000 in a state. 4 years ago, sorry, excuse me, I apologize. Let's go statewide here. In a state that was determined by 11,779. Let me put on my cheat sheet here, guys, all right? I do something that's a little ugly, but for the sake of the audience at home and for our knowledge too, this was Georgia in 2020. Wow, look at this. Okay, again, we've taken a 24-hour period from 4 years ago. Blue is the Democratic vote, obviously red is the Republican vote. And you see all this, you know, at 7 o'clock, boy, it was all over the place, okay? And then in the 8 o'clock hour, Trump easily took a lead there. And then the margins started to close overnight around 3 a.m. The lines moved and they moved and they moved for several days until finally we reached that margin of 12,000 votes separating Biden from Trump in the Peach State. So
But the difference would be that was the COVID election, and that was a lot of mail-in votes, and that was not the same early vote for Republicans, right?
Yeah, I would argue you're right about that in Georgia. I think the important thing to keep in mind is how states report it.
Yeah.
And Pennsylvania is a really good example here, where you're going to get a heavy blue, some would argue mirage in the beginning, and we'll see whether or not.
And then it's going to taper off. Yeah.
Maybe even into tomorrow.
Bill,
Yes.
broadly speaking, there'll be some exceptions to this.
I think Trump's going to get Georgia and
She
Virginia.
is underperforming Biden nearly everywhere.
It's a great question, Britt. This is just anecdotal. I answer the best way I can. I've been poking around all over this map. I can find some good news for her by a point here, a point there. I can find a lot of good news for him, a point here and a point there. But it seems where the areas where she is gaining the most is where the votes are. And the areas where he's gaining the most is the area that he targeted, and that's the rural area. Whether or not you can extrapolate that over a place like Hall County, 72%, right? Banks County, 89%. Now, problem for him is that that's 94 out of 159. But I can move along the northern border of Georgia. And, you know, it's just, yeah, it's dominating. 81.
How does it compare to 2020?
I'll show you that next here. Look at that. I mean, that's 86. Now, 2020, in the same counties, I'll go in reverse, all right? 84, still impressive, right? 81.
And what is it now?
82 right now. So this is Fannin County. There's about 14,000 votes in that county alone. 14,000, okay? Now, if you take that and extrapolate over 159 counties, it can certainly add up. So to answer your question, Britt, 4 years ago, Fannin County was 82, and this year he's at 80. Still 25% of the votes still out, so he's got a chance to do a point or two better. But right now, he's not meeting the number that he hit in that rural county 4 years ago.
We're going to make a quick call, and we'll come back to the board and the panel. The Fox News decision desk can now project that Vice President Harris will win the state of New Hampshire. Former President Trump came closer than many expected there, but the Vice President did well in cities and suburban areas. There was a time that New Hampshire, they thought was closing.
Damn, it's crazy. People really vote for this lady, man. That shit fucking crazy, man. I don't understand it, man. God damn.
Yeah, Jake, I should note, obviously we're all still watching these numbers come in. There is no celebrating happening yet inside the Trump campaign, but one thing that is giving them a confidence boost this hour are the numbers that you and John King were just going over in Virginia. They were looking at that very closely, comparing it to President Biden's numbers there in 2020, and it is making them feel good tonight, lifting their spirits. Now, no one is saying that this is obviously anywhere near over yet. They are still watching very closely to the blue wall of Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. Donald Trump calling into radio shows in Wisconsin and Pennsylvania in just the last few hours as he's at his Mar-a-Lago club. He just spoke to supporters briefly, Jake, but as he's talking to the people who are at Mar-a-Lago, he's also getting constant updates from his own campaign team. And right now they're watching a few key indicators, including the turnout from black males in Georgia and in other states, but also just watching those numbers in Virginia. We'll see, Jake, of course, that pattern continues throughout the night.
All right, Caitlin Collins, thanks so much. John King?
Make a fascinating map at the moment. You just updated the election.
Democrats don't do nothing for black people, but they damn sure looking for that vote, though, ain't they?
This map and say, wow, we're having a great night. I would just say, be cautious, enjoy the moment, but just be cautious. Why do I say wow? Well, at the moment, we touched on this a little bit earlier, the vice president is still leading statewide in Nebraska. What she wants to win is the 2nd congressional district, which is right here. Nebraska, one of 2 states that awards electoral college votes based on congressional district. Only 30% of the state. You see all this gray. Those are small, rural, farm country, beautiful, beautiful parts of Nebraska that tend to vote for Donald Trump in overwhelming numbers. So let's wait to see that one play out. But then you move east, and remember, what was the surprise poll of the last week of the campaign? It was the Iowa poll. It showed the vice president of the United States actually, no clear leader, but 47 to 43, I think, if I have it right, a little bit ahead of Donald Trump in what has been, since Barack Obama left the scene, a reliably red state. Well, at the moment, only 19% of the vote in, but at the moment, Democrats in Iowa, and I suspect elsewhere, are saying, we told you so, but we have a long way to go in the count. Right? So Polk County is Des Moines, 83% of the vote, and this is almost the downside for the Democrats, if you will. She's getting 56% of the vote, but you're at 83% already. So you got some more coming in, but this is your biggest basket, biggest Democratic stronghold, the capital of Des Moines. If you haven't been to Des Moines in 10 years, it's a very different city than you might remember. A lot of young professionals, insurance industry and the like, Democratic stronghold there. Joe Biden got 56% in Des Moines in 4 years ago. So if you think, oh wow, look at that, just let's be careful and be cautious. But we are waiting. Ames, college town, right up here, Story County. Ames, we have nothing right now. That's a place where President Biden got 57% of the vote. When we get numbers here, we'll look at that, but let's see that. If the Democrats are going to surprise us, even by making Iowa much closer than it was 4 years ago, you'll see some math in these blue counties, more people, enthusiasm. Enthusiasm matters in a competitive environment. So we'll see what happens with Iowa. Again, it has been a red state for quite some time. And just to put the exclamation point on the it's early, the state of Missouri, as the vice president of the United States ahead right now, Missouri hasn't voted blue for president in a very long time. Again, let's be open to surprises and we'll count votes. Now let's come in to the battlegrounds where we are waiting. Wisconsin is blue. It was red last time. Still very, very early. 18% of the vote counted. This is critical. For Vice President Harris, if, emphasis on if, you can win Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, hold that Nebraska congressional district I just showed you, then you're the president of the United States. Right? That's her easiest. No path is easy, but her easiest path is keep the blue wall. Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin. So let's move up Wisconsin so you can get a better look at home. She's ahead right now at the moment, but we're only 18% of the vote. And again, John's a broken record tonight, but I want you to look up at all of those gray areas. And I just want to remind you, in most of them, not all of them, but in most of them, you're in rural Trump country. So as you come back to the 2024 map and you say the vice president's ahead, that's where you want to be. You want to be ahead. You've got a long way to go. So what are we looking for? I'm going to do this in reverse order. Because of the questions about young voters turning out, whether unhappiness with the White House over Israel-Gaza, Israel-Hamas policy would impact youth turnout. 38% in Dane County, that's the University of Wisconsin. Absolutely essential for any Democratic win in Wisconsin to run it up here, not just in the percentage, but with the raw math. So let's look. 38% of the vote. So a long way to go. Long way to go. Let's just compare it to the president. President Biden had 76%. Keep an eye on it. Don't panic yet if you're a Democrat, but keep an eye on that because the vice president needs to be as close to that as she can be. And at the moment, she's running a little bit behind that. That's Dane County, that's Madison. This is the biggest population center. Spent a lot of time here in the last year. The big question here is, do black voters turn out? And the subset question of that is, does Donald Trump make inroads, especially among black men? We did see some evidence of that in our several trips out to Milwaukee. At the moment, I was texting with somebody in Milwaukee earlier, by the way, who said they thought turnout was actually going pretty good for the Democrats. We'll see if that turns out. At the moment, 25% of the vote in, 66% if you round up, 32% for Donald Trump. So let's just go back in time knowing we have a long way to go. And Milwaukee sometimes reports late. But if you go back in time, Joe Biden again, 69%. Trump at 29%. So the 69% is what jumps out. Trump is a little above right now. Trump's a little above where he
That's
was
interesting right there.
4 years ago. She's a little behind where the president was 4 years ago.
Interesting.
It's only 25% of the vote. We're not pouring cement on any of this, but that's where you say, oh, we got to keep an eye on that as we go forward. Then you move over here, you go into the WOW counties, Waukesha, the biggest among them. This is a Republican suburb. Long has been a Republican suburb. The challenge for Democrats, I've been saying this about Trump in the battleground states that tend to lean blue. Where's Trump's number in the suburbs? Can he compete? He's not going to win, but can he compete? That's the challenge for the vice president here. Waukesha County tends to be a Republican suburb. So there she is at 40%, Trump at 59%. Again, you go back in time, 59% to 39% 4 years ago. Welcome to another 20,000 vote race probably in the end in Wisconsin based on that. So 66% of the vote in there is essentially matching where we were in 2020. And again, just so you remember our history here in the blue wall, Harris is leading right now. We got a lot of vote to count right here, but I'm laughing a little bit just at the 22,000 number because if you look at that right there, Joe Biden won this state in 2020 by 20,000 votes. 4 years before that, when he cracked the blue wall,
And he only had
President
18% of the
Donald Trump won
vote.
Wisconsin by 22,000 votes. Welcome to Wisconsin. It's a state that tends to hang around the margins of 20,000 votes, which is why that is somewhat amusing to me. Earlier, I actually just put up 34,000 to shut me up. There we go as we go through the count in Wisconsin, very early there. Let's come over to Battleground Michigan. Let me come back for a second. See that? If they stay that way, and it's early. Don't call your bookie. Don't make any bets. Don't pop the champagne. You see Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, right? Especially if you're looking at a map where North Carolina and Georgia are red at the moment. They're not done either. But if you're a Democrat, you're kind of, should we be nervous about this? Then you should be, should we be optimistic about that? So let's take it away and see what I mean by that. Number one, let's just start to the east and go west. Up to 32% in Pennsylvania, long way to go. I just want to check out where we are in Philadelphia, still at 26%. You get Philadelphia over 50%, now we can start to understand what the math is elsewhere as you go. But again, you see most of the rural areas filling in for Trump. That's his strength. That is his strength, and Pennsylvania is one of his best states. Let's come up here into Michigan. We're still only at 14% in Michigan, and we have our first votes out of Wayne County, and it shows Donald Trump with the lead in Wayne County. If Wayne County's red at the end of the night, Donald Trump's winning the presidency in a landslide. We're at 1%, so that's unlikely to happen. The question is, where does it end up? This one's more interesting, Macomb County, but again, 500 votes. 506 votes. Trump wants to keep it somewhere around there. Go back in time, you see he's at 53%.
That's still
Donald Trump
interesting,
will win
though.
Macomb County. It keeps him competitive. Keeps him competitive in the state. The higher above 50 he gets, it matters. This is one of the signature key counties for Vice President Harris and her Michigan chances. Oakland County, the birthplace of Mitt Romney, used to be a Republican county when I started doing this. She's at 55% right now. They're just past half the vote. So look at the 55%. A little behind Joe Biden. That can matter. We're not done yet. She's only 55%. A little bit behind. Biden had 434,000 votes when he won the county. And you're just checking on turnout. She's at 234,000 with about 54%. So you're in the ballpark of similar turnout. Let's see what happens as that comes in. And you're going to watch that number, but that number. Tiny changes in the margins can affect the battleground states. So Trump's at 43. Let's do it that way. Trump was at 42. Again, it's tiny. In the close states, tiny can matter. We'll keep an eye on that as we go through the count in Michigan. And then one more. I was already over there earlier. Let's come back out and see. So the blue wall at the moment is blue. And the Sun Belt states, which used to be reliably red and are now battleground states at the moment, are red. So we'll just check in, see if anything else came in. Georgia's at 79%. The president's lead is 204,000. It was 240,000 a little while ago. President's lead has come down a little bit. I just want to remind everybody.
I'm telling you. Look at Georgia right there.
Donald Trump was leading Georgia by about 244,000 votes. Joe Biden won Georgia when the votes were all counted. Doesn't mean that's what's going to happen this time. It just means you'd rather be ahead than behind, but we're not done yet. Let's come back up to North Carolina. We're at 63% in North Carolina. This count's coming up now. This count's coming up a little bit. And you're at 177,000 vote lead. That would be a blowout. Anything in triple digits in North Carolina, again, go back 4 years ago, the closest.
Swing up there to
of the
Virginia.
battleground states Trump carried 74,000 votes then. You see how close it was, 50 to 49. And so let's come back now and take a look. The blue then is where the blue is now, except for this one out here, I believe. This one, Haywood County, well, we're only at 4%. If you go back in time, That was a Republican county. I look out there because, and if anyone's out there watching, we hope you're doing all right. This is an area of the state that was hit hardest by Hurricane Helene, and the state and the county officials and the local officials, God bless them. They did amazing things just so people could vote. I know the more important things are, can you live, can you get housing, can you get food, can you get water, and things like that. But the fact that people are voting out there in good numbers is a testament to the state and to the county officials. And people have heard a lot of misinformation out there. We see what's happening. Democracy is unfolding in Western North Carolina. This is where it matters most if you are the Democrats. And only 14% of the vote is in. So you see Donald Trump leading in North Carolina, but you see only 14% of the vote in Mecklenburg County, which tells you, let's just take this for a while. Let's just go through and see what happens as we go. It's 11% of the statewide population. The vice president at 60% right
the
now.
Queen
So you
City.
go back in time. Again, this is, if you're the vice president's camp, he lost. Joe Biden lost North Carolina, getting 67% of the vote in Mecklenburg County. She, at the moment, is getting 60% of the vote. Is that meaningful? We don't know yet. We don't know yet. It would be meaningful if we end up there, but it's only 14% of the vote right now. So then you come back out here, and again, that would be Donald Trump doing better in the suburbs. If he gets her number down from Joe Biden, that would mean Donald Trump is doing better with black voters and in the suburbs. But we watch that. We still have a long time to go. Wake County is Raleigh, number 2. Mecklenburg, number 1 population-wise. Wake County is number 2. She's at 64% right there. Trump's at 35. You go back in time, Trump's at 36. She's at 62. Roughly the same. Roughly the same. Won't make a big deal about that now. Sometimes roughly, you start looking into the margins of roughly if we get to 80, 90% of the vote. Move over here to Durham, your 6th largest county now, right? So Raleigh, Durham, the Research Triangle, young voters, some black voters, some college-educated suburban voters in the healthcare industry and the other industries in the Research Triangle there. 81% of the vote right now with 85% in. So this is where you can make a comparison. You're at 85% of the vote, you'd say, okay, where are we? Where was Joe Biden? 80%. So she's matching Joe Biden here in a key place. Trump's at 18% in 2020. We see him at 18% now, a little bit below that. So this, if you're the vice president, you're matching the president. The question is that good enough, right? He lost the state by 74,000 votes. So we come back up. Where else do you want to look? You look for the other Democratic pockets, right? Cumberland County. This is Fayetteville. We're just starting, right? We're just starting. This is the 5th largest county in the state. So that's, if you're the vice president, you think there's some room for growth there because we're not there yet. And again, I just want to show you, you see the blue in the urban areas. North Carolina along here, that's the belt here. These are black voters here for the most part in these Democratic counties. Absolutely essential to the vice president's math. And then you come down to Georgia, again, in these states, you just see all that red. Not a lot of people live in those, but you do county after county after county after county. You run it up. And Jake, as I toss back to you, just one more check. Now Fulton County is still at 80%. So the Georgia math, we still have the biggest population center where we're waiting to see some key results.
All right, John, as we stand by for the next poll closings at the top of the hour, here's an update on the race to 270. Donald Trump has 154 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 81 electoral votes. Obviously, 270 electoral votes are needed to win. Now, another key race alert. Let's go to the states where we have not called. Kamala Harris in the lead in Pennsylvania, 51.4% of the vote. Donald Trump has 47.7% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 88,000 plus votes of a lead, but it's about 35% of the vote that's been counted in Pennsylvania, about a third. Still a lot of vote to count in Pennsylvania. Michigan, Kamala Harris has 52% of the vote. Donald Trump has 46.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 49,000 plus vote lead. That's with only an estimated 15% of the vote counted in the battleground of Michigan. In Wisconsin, another battleground, Kamala Harris 52.2% of the vote. Donald Trump 46.1% of the vote. Harris with a 52,000 plus vote lead, but only 27% of the vote counted in Wisconsin, still very early in Wisconsin. Battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump still in the lead there with 52.1% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 46.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 201,000 plus vote lead as of now. That's 64% of the estimated vote counted in the battleground of North Carolina. And battleground Georgia.
And
Donald
Georgia.
Trump in the lead, 51.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 208,000 plus vote lead. That's with 79% of the estimated vote in Georgia counted. Still a lot of votes to count there, but a lot of votes have already counted. In the Commonwealth of Virginia, Donald
Oh, he
Trump.
just got the lead in Virginia.
In the Commonwealth of Virginia.
He started
Donald
glitching
Trump
when he
has
seen that shit, didn't he?
49.5% Kamala Harris, 48.6% of the vote. That is a 28,000 now vote lead with 63% of the vote counted. I am going to now bring you a projection. And CNN can project Louisiana will go to Donald Trump. Louisiana, with its 8 electoral votes as expected, to Donald Trump. Let's see what that impact is on the electoral vote count. Donald Trump has 162 votes, electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 81 electoral votes. She has exactly half. 270
Well, they getting scared.
votes are needed to win. We're getting deeper into the night and another round of results. We're counting down to the top of the hour, 10 p.m. Eastern, when 16 electoral votes.
They getting scared. Virginia just flipped, y'all.
Every vote is vital to get to the winning total.
Virginia sitting red right now. It just flipped.
About to close in Montana and battleground Nevada and in Utah. Nevada is the key battleground to watch in the next hour. Kamala Harris fighting to hold on to Nevada for the Democrats, a state that Donald Trump narrowly lost in 2020 and in 2016. As we await the end of voting in Nevada, let's check in with Jim Acosta, who's at a polling place in Las Vegas. And Jim, you have new information from the Nevada Secretary of State.
Yeah, Jake, I mean, one interesting development that has emerged here in Nevada is they're running into a problem with some of the mail-in ballots that have come in so far. Some of the signatures have been an issue. And election workers are now reaching out to some of those folks out there who have signature issues. Your signatures need to match those that are on file with the state. And an interesting anecdote here, one of the problems that they're running into is that a lot of young voters don't know how to sign their names. And so when they sign their names onto some of these ballots, they are not jiving with what state officials have on file. And so what they're doing at this point is sort of frantically reaching out to a lot of young voters across the state of Nevada to say, hey, wait a minute. Hopefully they're looking at their text and saying, hey, wait a minute, there's a problem with your ballot. You need to check in with the state and make sure that your signature is verified so your ballot can be counted. So that is one thing that they're looking at this point. There are about 14,000 of these ballot
funny
issues
shit
that they're
going
trying
on.
to rectify. They do have several days to work that out. And as you mentioned, Jake, the polls are about to close here in Nevada. If you're still in line, you can stay in line. We heard out in Nye County, which is about an hour outside of Vegas, they've got a line about 2.5 hours long. And so that process is going to go well into the night in that county as well as here in Las Vegas, Jake.
All right, Jim Acosta in Las Vegas, thanks so much. Let's go to Kyung La in Phoenix. Kyung?
We're in Maricopa County, Phoenix, and the most populous county, Jake, in this entire state. As Maricopa County goes, so does the rest of Arizona. That's why we are here. We are watching the clock in just minutes, in about 8 to 10 minutes. We are hearing that the county will be reporting its very first back. There are some things that work better. First drop, but it takes a long time to count all of the ballots. The first drop that we're going to see, the first results, will be the early vote that is counted before Election Day. And it's not all of them, but it is the majority of the early vote that is counted before Election Day. That is what
It's
we're
looking
gonna
good.
just
Trump got
watch
North
and see what
Carolina,
is happening. And
Virginia,
the sense that we
and
are
Georgia.
getting, Jake, from all of the election officials we've spoken to here in Maricopa County is that they are overwhelmingly pleased that there hasn't been major problems here in this county. Things have gone relatively smoothly. Yes, there have been some small issues here and there, but overwhelmingly, they say this has gone fairly well, and they are really looking forward to, continuing to keep that going as they go throughout the night. After that first report, Jake, we are expecting to hear further reports as that in-person vote from today starts to come in, Jake.
All right, Kyung La in Phoenix, Arizona, big battleground out west. David Chine has exit polling from Nevada. David, what are you learning about Nevada voters and the issues that they're focused on?
Well, the democracy and the economy are battling for that top spot. 33% of Nevada voters in this election, Jake, say democracy is the most important issue to their vote. 32%, basically the same, say the economy is most important. Then that is followed by immigration at 15%, abortion at 11%, and foreign policy down in single digits. Your family's financial situation, is it better or worse than 4 years ago? A plurality, nearly half of Nevada voters say, 48% say it was worse than 4 years ago. It is worse today than it was 4 years ago. Only 22% say it's better than 4 years ago. 29% say it's about the same. Undocumented immigrants in the U.S. should be offered a chance at legal status or should be deported. 54%, a majority in Nevada, side with the Harris position on this, offered a chance at legal status. 42% Nevada side with the Trump position that they should be deported. Abortion, should it be mostly legal or illegal? 68% of Nevada voters, nearly 7 in 10, say abortion should be mostly legal. 28% say it should be illegal. And Biden's job approval rating is at 40% in Nevada, 59% disapprove. That is about where it is nationally, Jake.
All right, David. Thanks so much. Let's go to John King at the Magic Wall.
Well, Jake, we're starting to watch now as we go further west. We have more states coming in. Some of the states we talked about earlier that we thought were aberrations or early votes, you see right here now, including Kansas. Kansas has gone back to being a Republican state. We expect it will finish out that way. There are some Democratic, pockets of support here. They're mostly in the eastern part of the state. Manhattan, Kansas. So remember, it was Kansas that sounded the first alarm after Dobbs when the amendment passed out there protecting abortion rights. So we'll watch the result margin. We expect Kansas will be a red state at the end of the night, but we'll keep an eye on that to see about that. And then you keep coming forward. Here's the one that's interesting, and it's staying interesting, but we're only at 31% of the vote. Iowa, which again has not been a state we paid much attention to since Barack Obama left the scene. Donald Trump won it comfortably twice. The Harris lead is shrinking a little bit, but she's still ahead in Iowa, 51% to 48%. And if you look through, I said earlier we're at 83% in Polk County. We're still there. That's the bulk of your Democratic votes. And you start moving down. You come over here to Cedar Rapids, which is Lynn County. You only have 34% of the vote here. So there's some business to be done in terms of Democratic votes for the vice president in what is an interesting state. If this one is competitive, it would be a surprise. And election night surprises are always interesting. You see there Dubuque County there. We'll see how that one plays out as we go forward. So now let's come over to some of the bigger battlegrounds. Again, if you're in the Harris campaign, especially because we're not done by any means. But if North Carolina and Georgia, Trump's ahead there, then you'd rather be the candidate ahead in the blue wall states. And at the moment, the vice president is 34%, a little more than a third of the vote counted in Wisconsin. Again, you see Trump filling in the rural areas. Just want to check. I teed this up.
Closing
earlier.
that lead,
Brown
too.
County,
That lead was bigger a minute ago, so he closing that
Harris is
lead.
not going to win Brown County. The question is, can she compete? When Joe Biden won the state, you see she's at 33%. We're only at 12%, so we have to do this a little bit later. But Joe Biden had 45%. So it's a key test of white blue-collar workers. Can the vice president of the United States try to at least come close to where the president was? At the moment, she is not, but it's very early in the count right there. Again, the foundation of any Democratic victory is down here in Milwaukee. We're almost at half the vote right there. She's at 67% there. Let's just go back in time and look. The president was at 69%. It sounds like not a big deal, 67, 69. Let's see. Right now, we're only at 48% of the vote. If at the end of the night, she's underperforming the president in Milwaukee by a couple points, that can make the difference in a state, Jake, that in 2 elections in a row has been decided by 20,000 votes. Jake?
That's right, John. And we're just moments away from another round of poll closings. Voting is about to end in 3 states, including the key battleground of Nevada. A total of 16 electoral votes are on the line right now. And CNN can project that Donald Trump will win the state of Montana. As expected, Trump gets Montana with its 4 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Donald Trump will win the state of Utah. As expected, Utah with its 6 electoral votes. Nevada is too early to call, a battleground state that Donald Trump has narrowly lost in the last 2 elections, but is making a big play for this election. Let's look at the electoral math right now. Donald Trump has 172 electoral votes. Kamala Harris with 81 electoral votes, 270 electoral votes need to win. Neither of them is there yet. Let's look at the key races now. Pennsylvania, Kamala Harris, 49.9%.
Pennsylvania getting closer.
Narrowed her 20,000 plus vote lead.
Pennsylvania getting closer.
49.2% of the vote. More votes have come in from the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. 43% of the estimated vote from Pennsylvania is in, and Kamala Harris right now has an 18,000 plus vote lead there. Kamala Harris in the lead in Michigan, 51.6%.
It's still early in
Donald
Michigan.
Trump has 46.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 46,000 plus vote lead Still, only 16% of the estimated vote in Michigan has been counted. In battleground Wisconsin, Harris is at 49.8% of the vote. Donald Trump is at 48.4% of the vote. She has a 15,000 plus vote lead. That's with more than a third, 35% of the vote counted in Wisconsin.
North
North
Carolina.
Carolina, Donald Trump maintaining his lead. He has 52% of the vote. Kamala Harris has 46.8% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 196,000 plus vote lead. That is with 2/3, 66% of the estimated vote in North Carolina counted. In battleground Georgia, Donald Trump maintaining his lead, 51.9% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 208,000 plus vote lead. That's with 79% of the estimated vote in from the battleground state of Georgia. We're now getting an update on the vote in North Carolina. Let's go to John King actually right now. John King, what can you tell us?
So Jake, you see the map, and again, as we get later in the night, this is where you start to see things change, especially if a candidate pulls out ahead in a state that not normally is in their lane, if you will. And by that, I'm going to refer to Iowa. Just a moment ago, I was showing you Iowa with the vice president ahead. Still competitive, but you see Iowa is now red. There was that late Iowa poll that showed the possibility of the vice president maybe being a little bit ahead of Donald Trump. No clear leader. It's a competitive poll. And this is a competitive race at the moment, 36%. This would be a surprise, right? We said Virginia's a surprise at how close it is. We'll see if it ends close, but it's a surprise at the moment. This is a surprise as well. Donald Trump just 3,800 votes ahead in battleground Iowa, a state he carried quite comfortably by 9 points, 8 points 4 years ago.
Them
so
numbers
you keep an eye
up.
on it, you watch, and you see what happens there. But it's interesting on this night. Now let's move over to the battlegrounds that matter at the moment. The blue wall states still being held by the vice president. The Sun Belt states, as we start to move west, North Carolina and Georgia are the two battlegrounds we care most about. They are at the moment held by the former president of the United States. Again, this was his closest battleground win in terms of Biden was the closest to him back in 2020. It was 74,000 votes. He's just under 200,000 votes right now, 66% reporting. The former president at 52% of the vote. And again, Jake, as you come over and join me here, just let's remind our viewers, still votes to be counted. We know that. So then we want to use our technology to say, where are they? All right, where are they? You see the bigger the circle means the more live outstanding votes, and the color tells you what's happening there. And at the moment, doesn't mean it will continue to be that way. You see Mecklenburg County, that's Charlotte, the suburbs. You see over here in the Raleigh-Durham area, Winston-Salem area, a little bit out of Nashville. So more votes to be counted out there, but Donald Trump at the moment with a pretty healthy lead.
And you know, we have one of our excellent journalists is in Charlotte, is in Mecklenburg County, Brianna Keeler, as the Board of Elections in Charlotte. Brianna, what can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right. So at this point, Jake, about 100,000 ballots are in out of several hundreds of thousands of ballots. And that really could change any moment because we are expecting about 420 to 430,000 votes, which would have been early in-person votes to have been closed out and posted here to the State Board of Elections. So we could be seeing that literally any moment. But what we see right now is a picture of a fraction of this key county. It's about 34,000 absentee ballots that were received before 5 p.m. yesterday. And it's also an upload of about 70,000 election day ballots from today. And you see right behind me, you see that red satchel right there. That is really the key here. These are being delivered by car. We're almost in sort of what is a drive-through situation here outside of the building of the Board of Elections here in the county. And these are delivered, these flash drives, they go inside through a very strenuous process, ultimately are uploaded to a computer that has never ever touched the internet. And then that is compiled and ultimately posted to the State Board of Elections, Jake.
All right, Brianna Keeler.
Nah, I ain't trying to say nothing, but I'm just, let's just go ahead and mention this right here. Like, so the votes are just in a red bag that's just sitting inside of a little tub outside where anybody can kind of get to it, right? No security, no nothing around it, just a bunch of people with some vests on that.
There are
I don't
counties
know.
that haven't reported yet that are red, and there are counties that haven't reported yet that are blue. So let's dive a little bit more into the numbers.
Very interesting, ain't it?
This is the most populous county in North Carolina. It's right here. I am told so far more than 510,000 votes have been reported. That's according to the state's dashboard. So for context on that, there's 830,099 registered voters. So that's the most. It's likely going to be a lower number in the end. So they're actually making some headway there. But over here,
in Mecklenburg, the home to Charlotte, they're having a logjam uploading the numbers to their site, I'm told, so far, and things are moving quickly, so this could change. But just a second ago, before I came on air, there were more than 84,000 votes reported so far. And for perspective, there's 857,354 registered voters in Mecklenburg. So that's a very small fraction at last check that we're seeing bear out in the results there. And again, because they're having issues uploading on their site, which is bound to happen. And again, that state official there in the Tar Heel state telling me that, again, be patient, it's going to take some time.
All right, Pamela, thanks so much. John King, North Carolina, a lot of people thought that we would know pretty quickly this election season who won, but I'm not sure that we're going to know before midnight at least.
Oh, here we go again. They did this shit in 2020. Here we go again. Here the fuck we go again, man. Here we go again.
A lot of lessons in 2020. You were mailing votes this time around. So they thought to be faster. But human things happen. You see the officials all out there watching this. Brianna made a very key point. It's so sad that we have to make it, but that these voting machines are not connected to the internet. There's all these conspiracy theories that people are hacking their voting machines. The people who count our votes, whether they're Democrats or Republicans, agnostic, they do a good job in all the states. And North Carolina is one of the best. So where are we is the question. A 213,000 vote lead. And it's what Pam just laid out and Bree just laid out. Bree is here, Brianna is here, Mecklenburg County, 10% of the population, the largest of the 100 counties in North Carolina. So we have a long way to go, right? So can the Democrat come back is the question, right? You see that healthy Donald Trump lead. So your question is, can the Democrat come back? Well, the vice president's at 65,000 votes there and a little bit of change, okay? Mecklenburg County, the winner of Mecklenburg County is going to be over 300,000, close to 400,000 votes. So we have a very long way to go in Mecklenburg County.
The point you're making here is that Joe Biden pocketed a net of about 200,000 votes last time.
Last time, a net of about 200,000 votes, exactly the way to do the math. And we see right now, we're waiting for a whole lot of votes. Right?
I bet the fuck y'all are waiting for some votes. You see this shit, man?
67%. If it ends up that way, Donald Trump's going to win North Carolina. But there's that giant number of votes left out. So this the vice president's percentage. Remember, the president's 67. Does she get closer to 67? Number one, and then number two, what's the raw math in the margin? Right? If Donald Trump, if she's below Biden's number, that means Donald Trump's again doing a little bit better. Might only be a little bit, but a little bit's a big deal in a battleground state in the suburbs, or maybe it's with black voters in Charlotte. We'll have to see how that plays out. That's the biggest county. Pam noted Wake County is your number two, and again, here we're higher. We're at 76%, so she's at 64%. Remember, Joe Biden lost North Carolina only by 75,000 votes, but he lost. So you're trying to figure out how do you match.
So to
that up.
update y'all on what's going on for those who just came in.
Not a lot, right? You see the win.
Seems like there's some bullshit going on in
a little bit more than that, but you see
Mecklenburg, Charlotte, North Carolina. Seems like some little bullshit going on down there.
So she was a little behind the president in Mecklenburg County, which is the largest. So you don't want to be behind it where the most votes are. She's a little bit ahead of the president in Wake County, and we're waiting for that out. And that's one of the challenges, right? We compare her to Biden because that's the last election. Every candidate has their own coalition, right? And so if she's doing a little worse than him with some voters, can she make it up somewhere else? Or is Donald Trump, matching his numbers and do that? If you want, you can look at it this way if you want. Let's just come out and bring this in here. Where is Harris overperforming Biden in the state, right? So this will slide away in just a second. She's only overperforming Biden in the state in a very small number of counties, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? And so, does that mean she's going to lose North Carolina? No. It just means that she's, we have to wait to see those votes. And then you can flip the question, right? How about Trump? Is Trump overperforming Trump in 2020? In a lot more places at the moment. At the moment. Key to that is in these blue areas. In Mecklenburg County, which we just noted, that's where the most votes are in the state. In the biggest of the 100 counties, population-wise, vote count-wise, it's right there. And Donald Trump's overperforming his 2020 performance at the moment. Remember how many votes are still out? At the moment. He's overperforming, and he's overperforming here in the Fayetteville area. If Donald Trump overperforms in the urban areas where you have an African-American population and then the close-in suburbs, then Donald Trump's in better shape now than he was then. I just want to remind people as we close this out, though, that I said he's overperforming here at the moment. We only have 18% of the vote, so let's see if it holds up. And I said he was overperforming here at the moment. We only have 21% of the vote, so let's see if it holds up.
Again, with all the caveats you just said, that this is early and we don't know, but if that were to hold, an explanation of it can come in what we've heard from both campaigns is that Donald Trump is doing a little bit better with African Americans, especially African American men, than he did last time. And that Kamala Harris is overperforming with white suburban women which you would have in Raleigh.
Yes, so that's what we're trying. This is why I spent 15 months traveling, right? Where's the addition? Where can you perform better? And for Donald Trump, since he's the constant, he was on 2016 and 2020. For Donald Trump, he had two goals. Number one, keep your base. In 2020, Donald Trump got more votes than he did in 2016, almost everywhere. Right? His base came out. Where he suffered was in the suburbs because there was higher Democratic turnout. So if you're Donald Trump, yes, you want to pick up as many black votes and Latino votes as you can, and you want to improve your standing in the suburbs, and that includes women. Donald Trump spent the Republicans have ripping their hair out the last week of the campaign every day watching Donald Trump insult women. Pick your day. It was Nancy Pelosi one day. It was the Vice President of the United States every day. It was women writ large some of those days. Republican strategists were ripping their hair out because they know if Donald Trump improves his standing in the suburbs, literally by half a point, then he's the next president of the United States. And they're ripping their hair out. But as you watch through this and we go through it, we'll see how it performs.
He getting that black vote.
Here, 213.
I'm telling you. Watch what I tell you now.
So mathematically, you do it this way. The big question is, are there enough votes out there for the candidate who's losing to catch up?
A lot of blue.
The answer is yes, there are enough votes out there for the candidate who's losing, the vice president, to catch up. That doesn't mean she will. It doesn't mean she will. It just comes down to, as we get more votes in those places where I said Trump was overperforming, if he continues to overperform, especially in Mecklenburg County, that's good math for him. But we have a ways to go in county. And that's just North Carolina. Let's go down. The biggest surprise, that was very tight. The Democrats,
Georgia.
Every election cycle, they say, why can't we get North Carolina? But this was the big surprise when it flipped. Again, here, can we just do this for a second real quick? Let's go back up. Sorry, my bad. Got to come out of this and come back here. Remember that, 204,000.
204,000.
Let's go back to 2020, right? Let's go back to 2020. Okay, I just want to show you where we were. Let's go back to the beginning. This is 9 o'clock on election night.
Okay.
244,000. So we're at 10 o'clock now. We're at 10:15. Right, so Donald Trump was ahead by 244,000 votes in 2020. The next day, or midnight, as we turned, we're 2 hours away from that, an hour and 45, he was ahead by even more. He was ahead by 372,000 votes when Tuesday turned to Wednesday in 2020, right? And then at noon the next day, it was down to 101,000 votes because they were counting the mail-in ballots, and then it flipped to the vice president on Friday. Joe Biden flipped to him on Friday. And then on Saturday, when the election was called, it was at 7,200. And then in the end, when they were done with the count, it was the infamous 11,779. So Donald Trump has the same lead now, roughly, 10 or 20,000 votes, than he had in 2020. That does not mean Kamala Harris is going to win Georgia. It just means that she can. It just means that she can. It means that there's still math out there to do it. And we've lived through this before. 2024 will not be identical to 2020. States will count most votes faster. It's unlikely we're going to wait till Saturday. I say that with some hope as we go through this.
But look at all the blue.
Yeah, right.
Look at all those big bubbles.
The question is, with Donald Trump 204,000 votes ahead, it's a healthy lead, right? Especially in a state settled by 11,000 last time. So you look at that number and you say, oh, wow, Republicans, Donald Trump's going to win Georgia. Hang on. 81%. 20% of the vote is a lot of the vote, especially when what you're looking for, the votes that are outstanding, larger the circle if you're just joining us, the more live outstanding votes, the color of the circle, the way the votes inside those circles are coming in. So Jake, you can look at this and you could say, you'd rather be Donald Trump, you'd be ahead, but there's plenty of opportunity for the vice president to make up that ground in battleground Georgia, Jake.
All right, John, and we have some projections for you now. CNN can project that Kamala Harris will win the state of Colorado. Colorado, as expected, will go Democratic with its 10 electoral votes. CNN can also project that Donald Trump will be the winner of Mississippi. As expected, Mississippi and its 6 electoral votes go to the Republican. Let's bring in the electoral map right now. Donald Trump in the lead, 178 electoral votes. Kamala Harris has 91 electoral votes, 270 electoral votes. As always, needed to win. Let's take a look at the outstanding races right now. Arizona joins the map with key race alerts. Kamala Harris has 50% of the vote. Donald Trump has 49.2% of the vote. That is a 15,478 vote lead for Kamala Harris, with 49% of the estimated vote counted. Kamala Harris in Wisconsin, 49.9% of the vote. Donald Trump bringing up the rear, 48.5% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 19,910 vote lead. That's with 43% of the estimated vote counted in Wisconsin. Pennsylvania, Donald Trump in the lead there now, 50.3% of the vote in Pennsylvania. Kamala Harris has 48.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 58,648 lead. Right now with an estimated 51% of the vote in Pennsylvania. In Georgia, Donald Trump in the lead there, 51.8% of the vote. Kamala Harris, 47.2% of the vote. Donald Trump with a 204,640 vote lead. That's with 81% of the estimated vote in Georgia. In battleground Michigan, Kamala Harris in the lead, 51.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 47% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 43,307 vote lead. That's with an estimated 19% of the vote in battleground Michigan. In battleground North Carolina, Donald Trump in the lead, 52.4% of the vote. Kamala Harris with 46.4% of the vote. Donald Trump with 253,752 more votes as of right now than Kamala Harris, that's with 72% of the estimated vote in. In New Mexico, Kamala Harris in the lead, 50.7% of the vote. Donald Trump with 47.6% of the vote. That means Harris has an 8,592 vote lead over Trump. That's with less than a third, 31% of the estimated vote in from New Mexico, still early in New Mexico. Kamala Harris takes the lead again in Virginia with 49.1% of the vote. Donald Trump with 49% of the vote. Kamala Harris with a 1,118 vote lead. That's with 68% of the estimated votes in from Virginia. John, what do you want to talk about?
We have a changing map. We can talk about it all. We'll walk through. Let's just take a quick look at Virginia and what happened there. Right. So last time I was here in Fairfax, there's what happened. Last time I was in Fairfax, there was a much lower number. Now you get a big. This is the largest county in Virginia. It's a 20-minute drive from D.C. Depending on traffic, it can be a 40-minute drive from D.C. But it's a pretty 20-minute drive, at least this time of night, if we want to give it a try. And that's one of the things that happened there. You see these close-in suburbs. Alexandria, smaller, much smaller population center.
Still, it's very narrow lead still.
You still come out to, it's a very, very narrow lead. But again, so you're looking, this was a 10-point race for Joe Biden. So if you're seeing, even if Harris wins it, if it's closer, does that tell you have a more competitive environment elsewhere? Or does it tell you Donald Trump's doing well in one state? Sometimes there's that. It has a Republican governor since the last presidential election. So you have to be careful about these things. So let's just see what's still out there. This margin's going to change. I mean, there's some Republican votes down here, but there's plenty of opportunity for that tie, slight Harris lead, to turn into something else. It's the surprise of the night so far in terms of how close it is, but it just flipped blue. So let's come back in 20 minutes and see how we're doing. This is the most interesting one. Mr. Tapper's home state, the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, just flipped red. Remember earlier I was saying the 3 blue wall states had stayed blue throughout the night. We're not nowhere near the end. We are nowhere near the end. We're at 51% right there. But you see that. So here we go. Battleground Pennsylvania. Again, one of these.
Yeah, he just jumped up. He wasn't, she was leading.
Yes.
But John, I'm sorry to interrupt. We have an update on the outstanding vote in Georgia, if you want to bring Georgia and Gwinnett County. Victor Blackwell's at the Gwinnett County Election Center in the Atlanta suburb of Lawrenceville. Victor, what are you hearing about the vote count there?
Well, Jake, I have the supervisor of elections for Gwinnett County with me now, Zach Manifold. Thank you for a few minutes here. We've been told that there is a large tranche of votes that's soon going to be reported. How many and how soon?
Yeah, we're just working with the state to go over it. We have uploaded it to the state, so they're just going through it, and it should be up here in a few minutes. So, yeah, about 320,000 advance and in person and absentee by mail. They're coming.
Okay, so 323,000, and when you say minutes, we're talking 5, 10 minutes?
I don't know. It's with the state, so they'll review it and then they'll tell us when to push those results.
And can you simplify what in the adjudication process held up these votes for hours?
Yeah, it was just the images loading slow. I'm not sure what caused that to happen. It usually isn't that slow. It was just literally kind of excruciatingly slow. But like I said, we got it resolved and moving forward and getting out those results.
This is also a problem that happened in 2020, though, was it not?
I don't know. I was not here in 2020, so I'm not sure. I know they had issues similar, but I'm not sure.
Well, I don't know. I wasn't here.
This has now been resolved. We should not expect this to be a problem with adjudicating ballots moving forward.
No, you shouldn't see this with the election day. And we actually do have all 156 precincts, the locations, their memory cards are in the office now. So we've got everybody back. They're actually going to start running those memory cards now.
So after those 323, it should move pretty quickly?
Yeah. We're expecting it to pick up.
Zach Manifold, Supervisor of Elections here in Gwinnett County. I'll send it back to you, Jake.
Thanks, Nick. Let's get more on Georgia from Sarah Murray, who's at the Fulton County Elections Hub outside Atlanta. Sarah, What are you hearing about the outstanding votes there?
Well, Jake, for all the flack that Fulton County gets for how it runs its elections, things have been going very smoothly and very steadily here tonight. They've had these memory cards coming in, they're uploading the day of election vote, and they're hoping in Fulton County to be able to upload all of their day of voting by 11 p.m. Now, there is another large county where things are going a little bit slower, kind of like Gwinnett, DeKalb County. I spoke to them a little bit ago. They said they don't have a number of what their overall election day count was, and they're not sure how long it's going to take for them to get through it. They're just chugging through it little by little. Now in Cobb County, another large county here in Georgia, they said they still had less than 1,000 absentee mail-in ballots that they had to get through, and they also had about 85,000 votes. That was their day of votes that they were turning to. They too are hoping to be done by 11 p.m. The last county I talked to is Clayton County. They were also working through their day of voting. They had hoped to have it done by 10 p.m. It looks like they were missing that deadline a little bit, but they were definitely saying they only had a handful of precincts left, about 13 precincts when I talked to them about a half an hour ago, that they were still trying to upload the day of voting for. So things seem to be going pretty smoothly. And behind me, you get a little bit of a sense of the process. This is where the memory cards came through. They just brought them through. They checked them in. Here with a police officer, they get scanned in. And then over in this glass room, we're showing you this is where these memory cards are removed. We start to see them uploaded. So that's what's happening here in Fulton County, and hopefully we'll have more for you around 11.
Sarah Laurie reporting on the count. We should look around the Atlanta suburbs. As she noted, she's in Fulton County, which is here, but this is where the big outstanding vote is. So let's just come back statewide first, just to put it into context. The Trump lead now 170,000 votes. It was over 200,000 not that long ago. So it has come down some as more votes come in. So let's just walk through what we just heard real quickly. Fulton County, you're at 84%, but this is the #1 population center, largest population center of the state, also a hugely Democratic area of the state. That's where we're waiting for votes. Also Gwinnett County #2 in terms of the population, plus the other counties right around Atlanta. Anytime we get